Good morning, everyone. How are we today? So nice to see everyone today. Well, we made it. We did Labor Day, got through the summer, hopefully got through the summer very well, had a nice respite, enjoyed the beautiful weather. And so today is Tuesday, September 5th. Classes start for the most part around the country. I'm wearing pearls in honor of who we're talking about today. Jacob! Good morning, Jacob. How are you? Jacob, what's going on? Stephanie's here! Yay! Okay, Stephanie, these flowers, I don't know if you remember, they were from Jean and Newton, and William sent them to me for my birthday. Hi, Eunice. And they are still alive. He sent them a few days before my birthday. My birthday was August 15th, if you remember. Like, who remembers that? But anyway, they are still alive, and I thought these have got to stay alive till Stephanie comes back to the show. And yay, you're here. It's so nice to see you. Hi, Eunice. Hi, Stephanie Brody, Liederman, how are you? Oh gosh, so good to see all you guys. So William is happily ensconced at Boston University, and he started classes at 8 a.m. this morning, which he was really happy about. Good morning, Massimo. I know the flowers are amazing, right, Stephanie? It's just great. So, wait, I gave you the wrong one, but it's not a guess who, so it's okay to show you. But I just want to transition to Smart Start. Starting our day with a piece of art. I'm hoping that Serena joins us today, but she's starting classes as well. But hopefully, hi, Alan. Nice to see you. So yesterday we talked about, for those of you who are here, we talked about Labor Day and, thinking about work, thinking about our work, taking a respite. And for those of you who weren't here, I'm just going to fill you in. And how it's just kind of like, I look at it as a demarcation line of just the unofficial fall beginning and what we want our work lives, what I want my work life to look like. I'm constantly reassessing everything that I'm doing all the time. Good morning, Kathleen. Constantly reassessing to make sure that what's working is continuing to working from a position of strength, and what's not working needs to be tweaked, tended to, discarded, whatever it is. And so, especially when you're working for yourself, and hi, Cynthia. Especially when you're working for yourself, and artists are working for themselves. It's you have to be hyper vigilant on kind of what you're creating. Hi, Beatrice. Good morning. It's so nice to see everybody here. So I thought for today, what I wanted to focus on was the newness of something. And as I was talking to Jean last night, we thought about what's new. What art do you look at that makes you feel like there's a newness or something was created out of nothing, so to speak. It's just kind of this revitalization. And of course, what came to me is the art of Gerald Murphy. And I don't know if you know about Gerald Murphy, but this is a phenomenal story. And I'm going to make sure you all get this book. Everybody was so young. You will love it. If you haven't read it already, I want you to read it. And Gerald and Sarah Murphy have an amazing story. Well, let's look at their art. Let's look at his art, and then let's watch the story unfold, okay? So it begins here's a picture of this couple. Let me read you a little bit to get you started. Does anybody on the feed know of Gerald and Sarah Murphy, by the way? I'd love to hear if you know about them. So let me just read you a quick, and I don't want to give too much away because I do want you to read the book because I know you're going to love it. Okay. Gerald Murphy was the son of the owner of the Tony Mark Cross company. I don't know if you remember Mark Cross, but if you saw Rear Window, Grace Kelly talks about how she only she only carries Mark Cross suitcases. So it was kind of the Hermes of its day. And it only recently kind of went out of business. Okay, so title of the book, Everybody Was So Young. I'm going to post it, Beatrice, so don't worry, okay? And actually, let me go to the title of the book now for you, and I'll read this, and then we'll so that you have that. But I am going to post a link to it as well, okay? So Gerald Murphy was the son of the owner of the Tony Mark Cross Company, a New York and Boston retailer specializing in leather and fine items, driving gloves, wristwatches, cocktail shakers, all those things you need for your average day. And Gerald cheekily referred to the family business as the monument of non-essential. I love that. By the early 1920s, he graduated from Yale University, which everybody of his class would have, worked 6 years in the family business, studied landscape architecture at Harvard, married well, and started a family. When his Harvard academic program moved into the new science of urban planning, Murphy, disinterested, decided instead to visit Europe to see some of the gardens he had been studying. Good morning, Anne. We're talking about Gerald Murphy, and I wonder if you have read this book. I'm just giving some background. Look who's here, Serena Buski. We are just wishing you a great first day at school, Serena. And I'm talking about Gerald Murphy and the Lost Generation. Okay, so I'm just reading this a little bit. So the Murphys and their 3 small children arrived for a visit in 1921 and stayed the entire decade. Okay. Art historian Elizabeth Tutton Turner notes, he approached Paris rather like a character from a Henry James novel, a member of a cosmopolitan class on the grand tour of the continent. Both Gerald and Sarah, and that's a picture of Sarah on the book, had modest incomes from their families. The 1920s currency exchange rate favored them and allowed them to live comfortably. Originally in Paris, the Murphys eventually settled year-round in a small villa in Antibes with a tiered garden and beach. The Picassos spent 2 summers in Antibes with them. The Fitzgerald visited them many times. Brock, Juan Gris, the names of this lost generation continue. I'm going to read a little bit more in a minute. So what the Murphys really did, honestly, there was no, quote unquote, of course there was a south of France at that time, but there wasn't this notion of this going to the south of France as this destination in the summer. In many ways, they create this notion of the south of France, of one visiting it and it being chic. They are nothing but if they're nothing, they're chic. They're so chic and they're so fabulous. And this is at a time when now Europe is kind of looking to America not as the rustic, kind of rough and tumble, but a little bit for our style, which is really interesting, which is a switch. But what the Murphys bring to this group of artists is this amazing inspiration. And I always found it very interesting as we look at the kind of masters of art history, the quote unquote masters. Oh, here she is, everybody. My mother just joined. Wait a second. Yay! Saeed, good morning. I'm always interested in who they are inspiring. And so many times in this, you find that these quote unquote, and these are not my terms, lesser artists or second tier artists are the inspiration for so much of our quote unquote top tier artists. And I really feel, and you will too when you read this book, that Sarah and Gerald Murphy had such a flair for life and such a flair for living that they inspired Fitzgerald's Tender as the Night. They inspired paintings by Picasso. This kind of community that they built was so important to these artists, and they lived fabulously. But Gerald was itching to be an artist as well, and he only has 6 paintings that have survived, and I just love every single one. So I'm going to show them to you chronologically, and we're going to really take a look at what he created in his life. This is one of the first paintings, Razor. It's oil on canvas. This is like 30 by 40 something. It's 1924, and it's now at the Dallas Museum. And the Dallas Museum has done, they have now a permanent collection, I believe, of some of his work. Obviously, it's here, but they have had two amazing exhibitions of Gerald's work. I actually saw one of the exhibitions of both Gerald and Sarah's work, in meaning their lifestyle as well, at the Dallas Museum, and it was thrilling. It was thrilling to see. It was a few years ago. I'm also going to post for you a New Yorker article from 1962 about their influence on Tender is the Night and Fitzgerald. Okay, so we see what's happening here, right? What do we see? We see a Cubist mode. But I find what's so interesting, and I wonder if any of the artists on the feed or anybody else sees this, is the neatness and the absolute precision of this work. Now, also remember, at this time, we're looking to the future, too. We're looking at technology, right? We're looking at air travel. We're looking kind of in that time frame. And so, the razor, the pen, the matchbook, it's so... And obviously, he has a lot of influence from Picasso. Good morning, Jamie. Oh, that's okay for being late, Mom. You're allowed to be late. Mom's allowed to be late. But I find the containment of this piece, the neatness of it, and I really wonder, knowing Gerald and Sarah's life, if, they were financially in a very different position than other people in their group of artists. And even though what I just read said they had a modest income, you have to understand, we're talking about a trust fund, right? We're talking about people who are supported they've married each other, they've married well, and they're supported by parents and grandparents and this American lineage. And certainly the father owns Mark Cross, a very important store. Newton, if you hear noise, it's Newton. It's underneath my feet pushing things around. Okay, so let's look at the next piece. And I really want to hear your thoughts about the next piece. This is absolutely monumental. Look at this piece of work. Watch. So Gerald, in my mind, knowing that his father and he at some point ran Mark Cross and the selling of material culture. And I say material culture in this case because I don't really think that people, besides the aristocracy or upper crust Americans, walked into Mark Cross and bought an expensive watch or a martini shaker or any pieces like that. So to me, they fit more into material culture, meaning like silvers, dinnerware, culture to that extent. Sorry, couldn't find my words because you know why? Newton is under my chair trying to get... Yes, Mark Cross make nice pen sets. I agree with you, Stephanie. Hey, Dee, how are you? Look at this piece. Look at the intricacy of this work. There is nothing messy or the sensibility of chance. It is all laid out with such precision, like a good watch, right? Just such incredible precision. I absolutely adore this piece. When you see it in public, it is amazing. I'm sorry, Newton's bothering me. Newton, Jacob's going to yell at you. Please stop. And so I just think this is absolutely monumental. Now, let's look to where we go here. So this is 1925. And then we also have this piece at 1925, Doves. And again, remember, he was very interested in architecture, right? And gardens and such. And I think the coloring here really get that sense of Art Deco, but also the columns, the architecture and such. And then these doves that are not necessarily a piece of nature at all, right? So then let's go. I want to move on a little bit, and then we can always come back. Love this piece too, Bibliothèque. And again, this kind of cubist, not cubist look at almost like an assemblage, right? He's just kind of assembling the globe, right? We're seeing the assemblage of the library, so to speak. So he's got his books, a magnifying glass, the globe, the architecture, the bust. And so, again, this Precision, absolute precision. Love this too. Cocktail. So we have very few pieces available by this artist. And he is not really in his lifetime necessarily. He has an exhibit, he has a few exhibits, but he ends up having to work for his family. And I don't want to give away the book. I really do. I don't, because this book is really a piece of American history, American art history, and art history in general. And also, and that's what I wanted to talk about today, the power of communities that artists create. It is extremely powerful, the communities that artists create. And whether that's like Fitzgerald, Dorothy Parker, Juan Gris, Picasso, they were all part of this community that somehow the Murphys were the centerpiece of. And I find that amazing. And we've seen that time and time again. Hi, Elizabeth. We've seen that time and time again, the communities that artists create. It reminds me of his figure number 5 in gold. Oh, Kathleen, let's post that, okay? This weekend I went to Governor's Island to look at artists to kind of put together an art fair. And they've been putting it together without curators or art dealers for several years now. And I actually did a piece on it for Cheddar, which is on my feed on Facebook, if you want to take a look at that. And what I loved about it was that they kind of took it outside the typical art fair, which is convention center and very expensive artwork, but also it costs galleries a fortune to do these art fairs. So not all galleries can participate, because if you cannot afford to lose $100,000, it's hard to participate. And that's what makes it very difficult. But this was at Governor's Island, which used to be an old army barracks, and now the island is revitalized. And in many ways, it's revitalized because what? The artists came in. Just like the artists went to the south of France and Antibes became this chic summer resort, because at the time that the Murphys were there with Picasso and Dorothy Parker and the Fitzgeralds, no one else was going there. This was their little stretch of land, and they created this incredible art community. So our communities are so important. And so today, for kind of like wanted to think about starting new at that demarcation line of Labor Day, what is exciting becomes a new community that we can build. And so the Murphys did this in the most incredible way. Oh, Maggie, don't worry about being late. Yeah, you're getting busy. I know. It's the new season. What could be more exciting, right, than this new season? That's what we're talking about. Then this piece is 1929, and it's at the MoMA in New York. Pear and Wasp. Pear and Wasp. And again, it's completely Gerald Murphy's look at it. I mean, we only have 6 paintings of his, and yet when you look at them, you know they're Gerald Murphy. I think that's really something, to really be able to, in such a small oeuvre, in such a small body of work, we know it's Gerald Murphy. That influence is tremendous. Here's something that's quite sad, and you'll all be sad with me. Look at the piece. Okay, so this is now, he was in the Salon des Indépendants in 1924. As you know, it's a very important fair. And the huge piece in the middle, Boat Deck, was his because it was lost. So we don't have that. All we have is this image from Boat Deck. And look at the massiveness of that painting. And again, I feel like he's looking towards the future, looking towards technology, but he's painting things, Boat Deck. It feels so much like a, very upscale. To say cruise ship these days does not mean much in terms of levels of, because everybody goes on cruises and such, right? It's become much more democratic. But at this time, we're talking about the era of Titanic and such, right? So you're talking about cruising, you're talking about a particular lifestyle. Who's that? Who just joined us? Robert, hi, nice to see you. So I just find this tragic that this is not with us. This is Picasso's Picasso did many portraits of Sarah, and this is a portrait of Sarah. Said to that they had an affair or whatever. Again, read the book. You're going to love it, and we're going to talk about it more in depth when you read it. I mean, you will love it. I've read it a few times. And then I want to show you some pictures of them. Okay, so Sarah, what she was known for is that she had this fabulous strand of pearls, really long, as you could see. And so in her honor today, I wore the pearls that my mother gifted to me that were my grandmother's, and I love them so much. And I love pearls, and I know like a lot of people, a lot of women won't wear pearls. They think they're aging or stodgy or whatever. I love pearls. But anyway, here's Sarah on the beach in Antibes, and she wears her pearls. She just has that, that's her style. She has this amazing personal style. Yeah, I agree, Anne. Luxury Steamboat Stephanie. Yes, I agree, Anne. This and Praxis is absolutely a community of sorts. It absolutely is. And I'm clear that I am trying to build a community in this kind of new technology, because I think this is it's no longer a frontier, right? But this is a new place that we can come in here and create a community. And I've been a little miffed of late to see some kind of a lot of negativity from people. I want people to say whatever they feel on my streams, but I don't think that people need to be rude, because this is a community and everybody's opinion matters to me, but they matter in a particular way, that we say everything in a way that is constructive and not just hurtful. And so to your point, Anne, in building a community, good morning, Mark, you want to have that place of safety that people can say things, or someone can give their opinion and another person can disagree, and it's okay that we're all in this together. And because when artists create a community, there's nothing like it. I mean, I think of Soho in the 70s and 80s when the galleries went there, in this place that nobody wanted to be. And the Soho of today has everything to do with the Soho of the 70s and 80s. The artists came in, the art dealers came in. We came in and changed it, and then therefore people came in, and the real estate was affected by it. The south of France today is what it is because of this quote-unquote lost generation, but led by two Americans, Gerald and Sarah Murphy, who, yes, I love Gerald's artwork, but also the way they lived was so artfully. Okay, so here's a picture right here of Gerald and Picasso together. Yeah, Mark, hope you had an awesome Labor Day too. I'm glad to see you here. So I just love these pictures of them from the south of France, also in their summers. I'm not sure that I have too many. I want to go, and I really didn't want to give away too much, because the book, hi Colin, nice to see you, is so riveting that I really want you to read it. You will just love it. Let's see. So I just want to read you something more from this. This is, painters went to concerts, composers to plays, writers to exhibitions, novel among artists in general at the time. The joint spirit has not been quite the same since. Many of the artists at that time, including Picasso, Braque, Derain, designed for the ballet. It was here that the Murphys met many of their new friends. For the next decade, they lived and partied together, often working side by side on projects. So you have the Murphys who are wealthy. Compared to the artists, they are absolutely, they are wealthy, and they have a certain disposable income, and they met at the ballet because they probably are patrons of the ballet. And yet they inspire. They have so much of it that artists seeking and creating and that feel of who they are as artists and living artfully. And then we have of Gerald's only 6 paintings that last, and then this wonderful novel. It's not his, it's a biography. Well, yeah, it's a biography. So I just wanted to show you this work again. The clock is my all-time favorite. I just can't stop looking at this piece. The colors, the composition, the connections, the intricacy. I just find it stunning. And the doves, right? And then we have the bibliothèque. And then we have the cocktails. And so you very easily get a sense of the lifestyle. And there is absolutely tremendous control in the work. And yet their lives could often be quite chaotic, which you will read. So for our beginning of the unofficial beginning of summer, and Stephanie's back, and as we begin something new, as a new season will come, but this is kind of the new season, so to speak. So we begin something new in our lives. I think that building artist communities and whatever that means, for you is so important. If it's here, I'm thrilled, so happy. And here's a safe space, and I won't let people, I will curtail if there's any remarks that I don't think are constructive. I don't want them on the feed. I only want constructive criticism or just constructive remarks on the feed. And I think that as you think about your work for artists and all of us, whatever our work is, kind of building that sense of it into our lives as kind of enveloping us. And that's what the Murphys did so brilliantly. And so I'm going to post a link to their book for you, and I want you to read it, and I really will, you will love it. Yeah, Kathleen, I agree. They're handsome paintings with a lot of dignity in them. And I think that we can see how his work in retrospect, you could really, really, really love it. But then how it also inspired others, those kind of top tier artists, although I do consider him a top tier artist tremendously. So, hope you have a wonderful day. William started classes today at Boston. I'm always so excited when the kids start school. I think it's just such a great time for them to for all of us to just begin again, and create communities in our lives and envelop ourselves in work. So hope you have a great day. I'm going to post the book. I'm going to post a link from the New Yorker article from 1962 about the Murphys and Fitzgerald's Tender as the Night. And I will see you back here for Women Crush Wednesday. Have a great day, everybody. I'm really looking forward to seeing you tomorrow. Thank you. Bye-bye.